What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today we are continuing on with the Bond franchise, and this is going to be an interesting one because normally don't do this, and this is probably going to be the only week I do this since both of these films came out the same year. I figured instead of making you wait a week to review the next chapter, because I think we're almost done with the the Roger Moore era. I think I only got like a couple of more. I'll probably look so I can find an exact number, but I think yeah, we're kind of getting close to the end there. So I will be I figured instead of just dragging it out, because another Bond came out this year. It was actually one of my favorite films from '83. Never Say Never Again. So I'll be review. I figured we'll just do it this week. So I'll just do both. So yeah, I'll do Octopussy today, and then we'll do that one tomorrow. So Never Say Never Again. I mean, sorry, Octopussy. I love the name of this movie. And I actually genuinely like the character. The movie is itself, I would kind of say, is one of the more mid Bonds. It's a decent one. I thought there were some fun action moments. The villain was kind of weak. Orlov played, if you remember, he's the actor. He's in Beverly Hills. He's the main bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop. You also probably saw him in Rambo: First Blood Part 2. He's the villain in that. I kind of think he should have been he was like the main villain, but he kind of just unceremoniously dies, like towards the end. And then kind of like throughout the film, Khan, this guy Kamal Khan, he's kind of like the real villain, and he was just a rich prince. He didn't do it for me. So I'll admit, like, this film had a weak bad guy, but it was a fun one. I thought the whole Octopussy and her, like, basically female assassin group was badass. I liked the Indian set. I like the India setting. I thought that was a nice change of pace, you know? Also really did like the action scenes. There's a scene, like, there's a little bit later in the movie where Bond is running away and he has to get on because he's trying to chase a train. So he has to, like, he ends up using his car and driving on the tracks. I thought that was kind of cool. It's not the greatest film. It's definitely, like I said, it's a middle of the road because the bad guy is kind of forgettable. He wants to steal some, basically, treasure and place it with real ones, and they want to for like a nuclear warhead. Their plan is kind of convoluted. I think that's like my only negative for the movie, but I love the theme. It's a fun one. Like, I could probably sit down and watch it again. I love the name. It's more the name I definitely love for sure. And I thought Octopussy as a Bond girl was fine. But yeah, so I guess out of 10, I kind of give this film like 7. It's a decent one. Never Say Never Again is definitely better, and it's a solid. If you kind of want to just watch the Connery ones, Never Say Never Again is a solid like endpoint. So you can watch the Connery ones and then just watch that one. So kind of like separately from the overall Bond franchise, yeah. So I'll be reviewing that one tomorrow. It's been a little bit since I've seen it, but I can't wait to watch it again. So. And then Thursday, the last Mad Max movie, because I'm not doing Fury Road, or Furiosa Road as I call it. But yeah, so other than that, let's get started. I like the opening where we see an agent there posed as a clown because Kamal Khan's people that work for him, they pose as like a circus group and basically kill. So we get like this chase scene because it's an agent going undercover, stealing this egg from Khan and his people, but he ends up getting killed because he gets a knife thrown in his back and then crashes into MI6 headquarters. Then, kind of classic Bond is in the middle of a mission. That's the one thing I do love about these movies. Is Bond's entrance in these, where he's like always in the middle of hooking up with a chick, and then bam, we get kind of like an opening action scene, which I thought this one was decent. Sorry. Anyway. But I definitely um so that's like definitely my favorite part of these movies is the opening. So I love the opening in this one. Just kind of gets going, starts killing some people, and then yeah, he gets tasked with the mission to to go to go to India so he can bid for this egg. And so they give him like a fake one. So they give him the real one and then replace it with a fake one. And this is where we meet Orlov, who I think he's a good actor. He can play a really good villain. He was a good villain in Beverly Hills Cop, and I definitely liked him in Rambo First Blood Part 2. I just think the problem in this, they should have made him the main villain. I probably would have had that con guy written out of the movie. You could have still had it in India. But I wouldn't have made him a prince though. I would have made him like just a subordinate for Orlov. I think that's the only thing I would have tweaked the movie because to me, as we're being real, that con guy is basically the real villain. He's the one that actually even has like the final confrontation with Bond about him and his uh uh bodyguard Gunga, I think is his name. He's the big dude with the turban on. Um, so Bond ends up getting outbitted. Then we get a chase scene because Bond they want the egg from Bond, which I thought the chase scene was pretty fun. They did it on like a little carriage. It was pretty funny, and you got people like swallowing swords. Bond takes the guy's sword out of his mouth, which I thought that was funny, and then making one of the because they have like the hot rocks which people walk on. I love that Bond used that as in his environment. So I definitely like think the action scenes were great. It's just more of the story. It just wasn't that compelling to me. And but then his assistant Q, I think is her name. She's like basically the villainess of the movie. Hooks up with Bond and they steal the egg, rigged with a hearing aid. Bond then gets knocked out. Then they kidnap Bond and Bond manages to escape. And this is where he overhears the plan with Orlov. Then they want to steal treasure and basically kind of cause war too, at least in Orlov's case. So, and yeah, this is where we meet Octopussy, who I thought was a pretty decent character, um, and her group of assassins who work for her. So, this is basically the real Bond girl of the movie. Oh man, I thought that girl Q initially was, but yeah, then we get the reveal. Then, I'm just gonna kind of jump ahead because I'll admit I think the other problem I have the movie does drag at points where I'm just like, okay, this can kind of just go. But yeah, basically the next big action set piece is I thought Bond's entrance, and I'm gonna go back to it because it just kind of came back to me, where Bond poses as like a Cuban guy. Yeah, he posed as a Cuban guy. Because this is like kind of has like the Castro look, because that's kind of what he was going undercover as, and yeah, so that was fun. Um, Bond then goes undercover as one of the troop, because they're like the circus group that like they're the twins that are like use late two knives. They're the ones who killed the clown guy earlier in the movie, and basically there's a performance that they're going to be doing in front of the in I'm trying to remember the country that it's in. I'll admit that there's not as much like big. I think it was in Germany where it was in with and they were trying to start a war because there was a bomb rigged in it. It was an explosive rigged, and they're performing the cannon. So Bond went undercover on the train, and I thought that part was kind of funny throughout the film. And then yeah, this is where we get the chase scene, him in the car driving on the railway tracks, which I thought was pretty fun. I thought that was actually a pretty fun sequence. And Bond Poe even went under because he had to hide, so he hid under like a bear. It's like a bear or gorilla costume. I think it was a gorilla costume. Now that I'm remembering, it was a gorilla costume. And then yeah, he had to get out. He kills the one twin, and then he ends up killing the other one because he ends up falling off the train. And then yeah, he has to drive to the circus, but the police think he's fucking crazy. So yeah, he ends up driving in because it's like a military base they're at. So Bond has to get there and try to stop the bomb. He manages to convince Octopussy to help her because he ends up telling her that Khan planned on basically leaving her there to die. So yeah, he manages to get her out and kind of stop the bomb. She then goes on her own with her troop to attack Khan's base, but they take a lot of them out, which is I thought that fight scene was pretty fun. Bond arrives, but she ends up getting captured, knocked out by Gunga, I think is his name, and him and Khan basically try to ride off with her, and then Bond has to rescue her. Gunga ends up getting killed. He gets knocked off the plane, and then Bond manages to rig a parachute with him and Octopussy while Khan. That's the other thing. I think Khan's death was. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned Orlov at this point when he tried to get to the train, tried to run away, and one of his people shot him. I'm assuming they figured out what he was doing, so he's basically executed. But it was like he should have been the main villain. I just found Khan boring. He didn't do it for me. I didn't really care about his plan, and even the way he dies, he just crashes into a mountain. Well, yeah, him and Bond and Octopussy escape. You have the classic they hook up in the end, kind of roll credits. So overall, I enjoyed this movie. It's just the villain could have been better, and I think that's the one thing in a great Bond movie. You do need a good villain. I mean, that's why Casino Royale, Goldfinger, GoldenEye, just all three of these movies had a strong villain. You know, um, so I think that's the problem I have with this one a little bit. Even Never Say Never Again had a solid villain. So I think it's just the villain in this was just kind of forgettable. They should because the actor who played Orlov, like I said, he's a good actor. He plays a good villain. He was good in Rambo 2. He was good in fucking Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, because he's the actor who played Victor Maitland. I thought he was good as that character. See, he showed he could be a good bad guy. In this, and even the way he kind of played it, and I get it. This was '83. The Bond movies aren't necessarily supposed to be like high art, right? But I don't know. I just think he didn't play it great in this either. He felt kind of over the top. It was almost like a joke. He was almost like a joke version of himself. But I did enjoy the music and I enjoy the action scenes. So that's why I'm keeping it at a 7, and I had fun with it. It's definitely not one of my higher entries for sure. But I enjoyed it. I mean, Roger Moore is always always great as Bond. Octopussy was a fun Bond girl. And I think if you have those two bright, relatively, you can kind of keep me entertained. Yeah, not every Bond movie is going to be fucking Goldfinger or fucking GoldenEye, right? So I kind of, even I really like Tomorrow Never Dies. I know a lot of people don't like that one, but I like that one too. So it's I just think not every Bond film can be a banger like that. It doesn't have to be. So I like this one. This one's fine. It had fun action scenes. India was a decent setting. It's just the villain department I thought was just kind of weak in. But yeah. But that's really all I can say about it. I had fun. I'm really happy that I'm going through these movies. It's definitely bringing me back to my childhood. I used to watch Bond all the fucking time. Bond was my childhood. That was Bond was almost on par with if we're going back as a kid, it's almost on par with Jurassic Park, and at that time Star Wars, right? So yeah, for sure, Bond was up there. Now, I mean, not as much now, but definitely rewatching these is definitely reigniting my love and just how fun they are, and he's just an overall great character. Um, and it just sucks. I mean, obviously, what's going on with him now. And I'm dreading, but I have a while till I get to new Bond. I mean, I'm barely getting close to finishing the Moore era, so. But yeah, it's gonna suck because I really do like Moore. Moore, at least as of now, is my second favorite. It's kind of him and Pierce Brosnan are tied because Pierce Brosnan, he was the Bond when I was kind of coming up until Daniel Craig. So that's why Pierce Brosnan definitely has a soft spot. I actually thought, and also I thought he really played it great too. So he really pulled off the dad, just badass spy. He really pulled it off. He pulled that off perfectly. So that's part of the reason. But Moore does it too well too, and then I kind of like a lot of his movies. I like some of his movies are a bit. He does play it a bit more, not necessarily serious, because he still have the moments where he's flirting with women. Not necessarily like that's not there, but he definitely does have a bit more, like he plays it a bit more. He's more action. He's definitely more of like that action Bond. So that's why I like him. So and it's gonna suck when I finish it. So other than that, I'm gonna cheers and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow for Never Say Never Again for another Bond film. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.